humanitarian situation in the region remains indeed tough. At the same time, the federal government is continuing to make significant contributions towards alleviating it. We welcome the efforts of the Ethiopian authorities recently getting a humanitarian convoy from the World Food Programme through to Semera. We welcome also the creation in the region of an emergency coordination centre. We hope that its establishment will help implement the plan to send to Tigray 100 lorries carrying humanitarian assistance every day, and also resolving the situation of Eritrean refugees who are in particularly dire straits. We are convinced that in order to address the situation, it is necessary, first and foremost, to depoliticize the North Ethiopian humanitarian file. Providing humanitarian assistance in the context of the ongoing political standoff and the toxic media atmosphere has little chance of success. Nor can we agree with the bias in public focus in the work of humanitarians in Tigray. When providing humanitarian assistance, it's important to pay attention to other regions too, including Amhara, Oromia, and Somali, who also have significant humanitarian needs. These are linked to droughts, floods, plagues of locusts, and problems with planting crops. The basis of these efforts should remain UN General Assembly Resolution 46182 and the UN Guiding Principles on Humanitarian Assistance. We call on OCHA to pay particular attention to establishing privileged and constructive dialogue with the federal government.
China welcomes the Ethiopian government's recent efforts in alleviating the situation in Tigray and neighboring areas. In the meantime, affected by conflicts, the humanitarian situation in some Ethiopian states has become increasingly grave, and humanitarian needs in states such as Amhara and Afar have increased. We hope all parties in Ethiopia will continue to make efforts to expand humanitarian access and ensure the timely delivery of humanitarian goods to its people. China has provided emergency food assistance to the Tigray region, and we call on the international community to step up humanitarian assistance. International humanitarian agencies, while carrying out their work, should uphold the guiding principles of the UN for humanitarian assistance and respect the sovereignty of Ethiopia.
In recent weeks, the conflict has intensified and now been spread by one side, TPLF, to the neighboring regions of Amhara and Afar. The conflict is having a severe impact on the civilian population, particularly women, children, and the elderly, and has resulted in the killing of innocent civilians, human rights violations, and use of child soldiers. The unilateral ceasefire announced by the government of Ethiopia in June 2021 was an important step aimed at improving the worsening humanitarian situation. Unfortunately, the opportunity provided by the ceasefire seems not to have been grasped, with the continuing aggression and belligerence of one side and spread of fighting beyond Tigray region. The humanitarian cost and suffering due to the conflict is unfortunately mounting. This development has a potential to destabilize the larger Horn of Africa region. In our view, today's meeting should strengthen efforts towards a ceasefire, which is the need of the hour. In this context, we take note of the efforts of the government of Ethiopia and its leadership in addressing the situation. The government has been working with humanitarian partners, including the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the World Food Programme, and other agencies to alleviate the suffering of the people. We deeply appreciate the efforts of the Secretary General in this connection. The humanitarian access has been improving progressively with more convoys reaching the areas in need. This is demonstrated by the statistics provided by OCHA and WFP. The communication and coordination between the Ethiopian authorities and humanitarian agencies has improved significantly in recent weeks. We welcome the establishment of a regional emergency coordination center in Semera, comprising federal institutions, regional counterparts, WFP, and UN OCHA to facilitate the movement of trucks along Afar routes to Tigray and to coordinate emergency assistance to displaced people. We urge sustained close coordination between humanitarian agencies and the Ethiopian authorities to bridge the remaining gaps. At the same time, there is an urgent need to scale up efforts consistent with UN guiding principles for humanitarian assistance. At this juncture, Ethiopia needs all the support it can get from the international community. The international community should come together, treat the emerging situation with sensitivity and seriousness, and extend all possible humanitarian assistance to Ethiopia. The humanitarian agencies also need to take measures to avoid diversion of humanitarian aid.
We fully support, Mr. Secretary General, the work that you've been doing to launch a political dialogue as soon as possible. We are convinced that this dialogue should be led by Ethiopians themselves, with the support, first and foremost, from the African community. Any potential external assistance should be done while fully respecting the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political independence of the country. In June's elections in Ethiopia gave convincing proof that the federal authorities can unify the Ethiopian community. We are convinced that they can independently work towards normalizing the situation and generally put the country back on the right development trajectory. Our African partners and the international community should simply support these efforts of the Ethiopian government. We'd also note in this connection the appointment of the High Representative of the African Union and former President of Nigeria, Obasanjo. It's important to understand also that attempts to undermine the situation and also exert pressure on the democratically elected government of Ethiopia, including through adopting unilateral sanctions, will only further stoke the conflict. Equally, nor will the crisis be solved by discussing it at the Security Council. It would be more effective if each member of the Security Council made its own contribution to resolving the situation. The emphasis should be on quiet diplomacy and bilateral channels of privileged communication. The Russian Federation is ready to ensure this.
China firmly supports Ethiopia's efforts in safeguarding national sovereignty and unity, and will continue to support the Ethiopian people in achieving national peace, stability, development, and prosperity. We hope the international community will support the Ethiopian government in achieving a comprehensive and lasting ceasefire and effectively promoting national reconciliation. China opposes interference by external forces in Ethiopia's internal affairs in the name of human rights and humanitarianism. We support the AU and the regional countries to resolve African issues in the African way and welcome the appointment of the former ambassador of Nigeria, Obasanjo, as the High Representative for African Affairs of the AU. We hope the UN and AU will strengthen their collaboration and jointly play a constructive role in promoting reconciliation among all Ethiopian parties through dialogue. The unilateral sanctions imposed by individual country on Ethiopia are inconsistent with the international law and the basic norms of international relations. Instead of resolving conflicts, they will only interfere with the political settlement. China believes the Ethiopian government has the ability and wisdom to handle its internal affairs well, and firmly believes the Ethiopian people can overcome difficulties and tackle the current challenges. China stands ready to work along with the international community to support Ethiopia's commitment to national unity, restoration of stability, and achievement of development.
For decades, Ethiopia has been an engine of economic growth in the Horn of Africa region. Today, Ethiopia needs support from the international community, including from the African Union and the United Nations, to address issues related to the conflict. The solution to the conflict must be Ethiopian-led and within the constitutional framework of Ethiopia. India continues to underscore the importance of mutual trust, engagement, dialogue, and reconciliation for lasting peace and stability. India reiterates its strong commitment to the unity, sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of Ethiopia.